I don't want to deal with it. I don't want any stress. Leave me alone. I don't want conflict.
That is true.
It's going to be a problem. We're going to have serious personality clashes.
I don't mind people who tell it like it is if, and only if, they're willing to hear it like it is. And you find yourself saying things like, I tell it like it is, be prepared to hear the truth back. Or phrasing things directly and not dishonestly, but also in a diplomatic way.
Personal development is something that's very important to me. And you would have noticed that based on all the content I've been creating on this channel. Yeah. That's one of the reasons I decided to take emotionally intelligent leadership course this quarter. And today I have Shrestha with me. We took the course together. We had a lot of discussions around the topics that we treated in class, and so we decided to come together to have a round table or round chair discussion concerning the topics, because there is a lot to unpack. All right, so Shrestha, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Okay. Hi everyone, and thank you to Annie for having me be a part of this. I'm very excited to share, well, we have a lot of opinions, so I'm excited to share all that. Just to introduce myself, hi, my name is Shrestha. I am a full-time MBA student at UC Irvine in California, and I started this program because I wanted to transition out of my old specialty, which was R&D, research and development in biotech. I wanted to go more towards the business side, and I wanted to learn the business overall. So that's why I started this MBA program, and I'm having a lot of fun so far.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Before we dive in, can you tell us why you decided to take emotionally intelligent leadership as a course?
But when I was first starting out in the workforce after grad school, I had a master's in biology before this. I realized that the best way to kind of make no waves and kind of just avoid conflict was to just keep my head down no matter what happened and not speak up. And I realized that's not a sustainable way to survive and thrive in a workforce. So I wanted to make sure that as I'm growing in my career, in business school and then beyond, I want to make sure that I am able to use my voice in a leadership capacity or not, but I wanted to make sure that I was doing it in an emotionally intelligent manner. So that's why I took this course.
Okay, thank you for sharing. So the real launch of the course would be, for me, when we started talking about the motives at work as a topic. So we talked about the motivational value system, and in that topic that week we had to take this SDI assessment. Yeah. Yes, so after we took the assessment, we were categorized based on our motives. Yeah, motivational value system. I don't know how to explain it in detail, but
yeah, there was two. Basically, the questions were geared towards how you deal with, what motivates you at work. And the second part was, how do you behave in conflict? I believe there's two parts to the assessment. Well, all the questions were kind of pushing you towards making a decision on how you're motivated and making a decision on how you behave in strife and conflict. Okay. And it was pretty in-depth, and there were a lot of questions, and a lot of times it won't let you take the middle path. It'll force you to pick, if you had to choose, pick an option of these two extreme ends, and that ends up being more helpful in getting that accurate determination.
Okay, yes. So after we took the assessment, you get categorized into green, blue, red, or a combination of these two colors: green, blue, blue, red, blue, green.
Or red, blue, green, the hubs.
Yeah. Yes. So can you give us a brief summary of what the red, the traffic lights,
the colors
mean?
Yeah. So the assessment has blue being categorized as people who are motivated by people, so interpersonal relationships, and they kind of thrive on looking out for the people in their job first, and being courteous, etc., etc. That motivates them the most. The red people are the people who are performance motivated, the ones who want goals achieved in a fast, efficient manner, or they're motivated by compensation or maybe feedback, praise, promotions. And then the green people are the process motivated people, the people who are most engaged when they look through their work and see that everything is proceeding according to a process, something that everybody can agree on, something that's neutral, and the process is not questioned or thrown out just because of arbitrary reasons. People find that to be a real way to connect to their work.
Yeah.
And the hubs are the ones who relate to all three. So they're RGB, so they do red, blue, and green. And there's of course mixes in there: blue, red, blue, green, green, red, and so on and so forth. So it'll map you out based on like a core, like you'll appear as a dot in a big like a graph, and you'll appear in any part of that graph where the red, blue, and green are.
Yes. So, and if I recall, Shrestha and I fell in the same category. We're both blue-greens. So we care about people, but we also do care about the processes. And taking this assessment and just seeing people's different motivational value system, I got to understand like why people act the way they do. And, you know, there are just some things I did not understand, especially when I came to business school and I started experiencing different kinds of behaviors and, you know, team dynamics. Blue-green, what did you learn about people who are probably reds or greens or blue-greens or hubs?
So I do understand the tendency of people to, you know, be with their own, you know, like attracts like. So if I were a blue-green, I'd hang out with blue-greens, and that's great, everything's fine. But there is a chance that in the real world, that's not really an option, because you're thrown into teams, you're thrown into projects. Sometimes projects span like companies and countries and whatnot. So it's not really realistic to expect somebody who has the exact same motivations as you to be in a team with you. However, the assessment can give you some insight on how to properly interact and kind of do that give and take with somebody who has, I mean, quote unquote, the opposite motivations as you, and you can still come out on top because you are seeing each other where you're coming from. So I think that's the biggest takeaway. And another thing I would add is it's important to have diverse opinions in your team. So it is essentially probably the best option to have a mix of red, blues, greens, all of those in your team. And if you have all of one color, there's a chance that if you're fully people focused, then you may lose sight of, I don't know, the performance goals. So maybe you need a red to kind of keep you on track, keep that timetable going, and vice versa. Maybe if you have all the performance people and you have no people consideration whatsoever, maybe morale will be at an all-time low because everybody has their eye on that ball of like, hey, we need to get costs down by 20% and we're doing whatever we can to do that, and meanwhile everybody's just burning out. So it is something to consider.
Okay, that's great. So are there like interesting team situations that you found yourself in, like relating to the different MVS?
I would say in the past, because of the nature of my work, and also because I was in the biotech industry during the pandemic, it was a high stress time. There was a chance for, you know, performance to be valued above all. So there were many instances where I felt like the people were burning out and the team was burning out, and we were all doing, you know, 1.5 times our jobs, 2 times of our jobs. We're doing all of these extra things and trying to chase that performance goal and kind of just losing ourselves in the process. So I do understand, again, where the performance motivated people are coming from. But if I had talked to them and if I had said, this is where we're coming from, maybe things would have been different. But like I mentioned before, I was more hesitant about speaking up. So maybe I will in the future.
Yeah. Just to chip this in, there was something that we did in a different class, organizational leadership class, where we had to write about worst co-worker.
Yes.
Yeah, so we had to write a paper about our worst co-worker. And I told Shrestha that I did not have a worst co-worker to write about. I had to make that person up because I just couldn't think of that person, who that person would be. I got to business school and God decided to bless me with not just one, but 2 worst co-workers, so I can write about these people in the future. So learning about the whole motivational system, the motivational value system just helps me realize, okay, this is who these people are. This is what's happening here. So I think that session really, really opened my eyes to a lot, and how I view people and how I see the different ways that people work on a team. The next topic we're going to talk about, and this is just steering a little bit away from the motivational value system, because still under the SDI assessment, leadership in conflicts, that was the topic of the class. You learn about conflict styles and how differently those same motivational value systems change when it comes to conflict. So for a blue-green, I discovered that I can easily turn to a red when in conflict. Looking back to my old self, I used to be very avoidant of conflict. I didn't, anything that would lead me to have any conflict or back and forth with anybody, I used to avoid. Like, I named myself conflict avoider, like I was an expert in avoiding conflict. But I found myself in situations where I could not avoid conflict. I had to deal with this conflict. I unlocked an aspect to myself that I did not previously know. So there was a lot to learn. So would you say that you've learned about yourself and other people, how they can react based on conflict, or would you say that you now understand how conflicts can be managed in any way?
Unfortunately, I am still a conflict avoider even after business school, even after leadership development class. I'm not going to say it's like a perfect solution. You still have to do the internal work. I don't know if there's a lot more work for me to do. I probably have a lot more work to do, but I will say that I have learned that. I have learned that I need to take certain steps to constantly check myself when I'm in fight or flight mode, where usually it's flight and I'm trying to avoid the conflict. And you know, I'm unfortunately not like Annie, where she has learned that and she has pivoted. I still need to do some work on that. However, I will say I am good at when people come to me with a conflict, and when people are, you know, saying things like, oh, you know, you didn't hold up your end of the deal, or I'm disappointed in what you said or did, I have become good at not being immediately defensive and not trying to be right. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to discount people's feelings. I've gotten good at trying to see it from their perspective and acknowledging and being like, okay, maybe you're right. Maybe I did drop the ball. I'm sorry. I will try to do better next time. I'm human. And I think I've had some positive results in that aspect.
Okay, that's great. I tried my best to stay away from conflict, to even remove myself. But then I realized that if you are removing yourself, you're only transferring the problem. You're not dealing with the problem. You are just moving away, or you're shifting the problem elsewhere. And that's not a right way to do it. So you have to like deal with the problem. And previous me, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want any stress. Leave me alone. I don't want conflict.
That is true. Yeah. It does take a lot of resources. It takes a lot of time. Yeah.
Why can't I just live in peace and not be in conflict with anybody? So I realized that some people actually need to be dealt with in a different way, and sometimes it's not in a peaceful manner.
You have to stand up for yourself. And yes, when push comes to shove, ultimately we would all like to believe that we will stand up for ourselves. It may be hard for a lot of people. Sometimes people just buckle down. Even if it's something like a red line that has been crossed, sometimes people will still buckle down. Ideally, it's better to not do that. It is better to defend yourself, especially in cases where there are ethics and morals that are concerned. Like, you want to be able to stand up for your rights. So that is something that we should all try to do. But yes, it is difficult. It is an instinct for a lot of us to just avoid it and duck and cover. And it's not exactly the best way to deal with it. It's not good for your own mental health. So yes, I would say it's something to definitely keep an eye on. So I would say one of the most important takeaways I had from the Emotionally Intelligent Leadership course was when we were talking about a case in our class called, I think it was the Wolfgang Keller case. So there was a man named Wolfgang Keller who was a managing director at this, I want to say, Ukrainian subsidiary of a beer company. And so he was, I think he was a managing director. I think he was working on the marketing side. And he had a commercial director under him named Dmitry Brodsky. And the whole case was about the conflicts between the two, and whether the decision that we as business students had to face was whether or not to fire Brodsky or keep him. And it detailed what their conflicts were, and basically it was Keller was a micromanaging type of person, probably very red motivated.
He was such a red guy.
But Brodsky was very analytical, hands-off, and he didn't like traditional structured things. Brodsky was very much a analytics whiz, where he would crunch numbers, and he had the technical side going for him. And apparently he was one of the best people in the business to do that. That's one of the reasons why he stayed on for so long. But the managing director was completely the opposite of him. And there was a point in the case that really struck to me, was when Keller was apparently complaining about the fact that he had to go sign off on some big deal that was happening, and he had to leave and do it on the weekend because Brodsky wouldn't leave his weekend plans to go do it. And that really struck me as off, because I'm very much of the person who's like, okay, work is very much important, but you still need to have a life. The weekends are yours. I'm, a big proponent of that. So that stuck with me. So yes, that was one of the one of the cases that really stood out to me. And if you don't mind, I can tell you my biggest takeaway.
Oh, sure.
So there was one point in the case where Keller, I believe the case mentioned that Keller was kind of not making fun of Brodsky, but kind of keeping him putting him in his place by not referring to him by a respectful name in Ukrainian or Russian or something, because Brodsky was 10 years older than him, and things like small petty things like that. And it struck out to me the idea that the only reason that Keller behaves that way is because he is 10 years younger than Brodsky, and he's in a completely different life event than Brodsky is, a place in life. And who knows, maybe in 10 years, Keller will be exactly in Brodsky's place. And maybe he would be also unwilling to give up his weekends and, do the most.
Yeah.
Who's to say that Keller won't eventually become Brodsky? And that means Keller had to put himself in Brodsky's shoes and see the motivations that Brodsky's working with. Maybe he had, I don't know, a weekend hobby. Maybe he's taking care of his elderly parents. Maybe he has 4 children that have activities. You can't assume things about people, what motivates them. Maybe working on the weekends doesn't motivate Brodsky, and that's perfectly fine. So yeah, that was my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, and just before we started recording, we're talking about how in some companies, some bosses will tell you, oh, you're doing too much, slow down. Well, that might sound cool and chilled and relaxed. Some people, some employees, some overzealous employees would actually take that as a red flag. So if you tell them to cool down, they might be like, oh, this is a laid-back company, it's not fitting my...
Exactly.
So Keller was somebody who was doing too much, and he was trying to force the other guy to do too much. And this guy he has already figured out how to do his job. Will I get the results or not? Yes, I will get the results. But am I doing it in a way that's so forceful? It's very important to know how to work with different work styles and understand that the results is what's more important, right? So if I'm getting you the results, why do you have a problem with how I'm doing it? And that was, I think that was one of the other problems I had with my team, where people had different work styles. Other people wanted to be so serious about the work. But for me, I will get the work done. You will get the results when it is needed. And you will get the results as it is needed. But am I going through the same process that you're going through? No, I will find a shortcut to it, but you have a problem because it's a shortcut and you're not going through all the process. Though I'm also a green, I like process, but if I see that there are some processes that don't just make sense to me, I will not follow it. So not being able to understand that work style and thinking that your work style is the best and that's the only way it should go, it's going to be a problem. You're going to have serious personality clashes.
And also, here's another thing. A big part of that case was the fact that the board of directors or the C-suite people were actually testing Keller to see if he could work with the people under him and lead and not be a micromanager. Because in a lot of instances, if you are higher up and if you are climbing that career ladder, micromanagement is not a good sign, because it implies that you have to take charge of every single detail and every single exclamation mark and period and pause on every single report, and that's the only way things don't fall apart. And if you're a leader like that, that implies that you're not a leader at all, because you have to do everything yourself. And so are you actually delegating? You're not. And that means that the people above you will look at you like, well, then why are you here? I hired you to manage people.
Yeah.
And you're not managing people, you're managing tasks. You're managing tasks, and that's not a good thing. So that really goes to show you can have a profound effect on somebody else's life if you don't know how to manage relationships well.
So for our last piece of discussion for this part of emotionally intelligent leadership, I'm going to merge the discussion we had on authentic leadership. There was an article we read. It was being your authentic self versus being a jerk. I'm going to merge that with feedback/performance appraisal and sugarcoating as a topic, a very interesting topic on its own. We had the opportunity to role play in class where we were paired in twos. One person would act as Smith, who was a partner, right? Or a manager.
A partner, yeah.
Then he would be giving feedback to Burke.
Burke, yes.
Who was a manager.
Who was a manager, yes.
Yeah. So we got to see how people actually think about these things. If there were some of the things I heard in class, and I'm like, is this what you're really going to say to people? You know?
That is true, yeah. A lot of that. Some people were a little bit more harsh than needed to be. Some people kind of tried to outright, lie by omission. It's an exercise. I think people were trying to.
Like, if you were in that class, you would hear some shocking takes. I was like, wow. I wonder how you were at work. I feel sorry for the people that worked with you. So there was a part that really stood out to me, and it was the part about sugarcoating. For me, I had a different take. I believe that people specific people should actually be advised to sugarcoat. When a person who is emotionally intelligent is giving feedback, this is where they are, right? So for people who are the way I'm going to describe now, they are here. For them to meet the people who are here, they have to sugarcoat. Because if they are made to not sugarcoat and to give feedback directly, then their feedback is going to be way up here, and it's going to be emotionally damaging. So that's why I recommend sugarcoating for people like this. And the people I'm talking about are people who would say things like, I'm a direct person, I am blunt, I don't know how to sugarcoat. Like they would say it outright.
I tell it like it is.
Yes, I tell it like it is. Yeah. Honestly, when I hear people say those things, what I hear is, oh, I'm a jerk. I don't care about your feelings. I can say anything I want. I don't care. I don't want to change.
I don't mind people who tell it like it is if and only if they're willing to hear it like it is. And that's really rare. Most people who tell it like it is aren't willing to hear it like it is.
Yeah.
So in my mind, if you're not, then why do you tell it like it is? Just it has to be, both should be pluses or both should be minuses. Like you can't have one or the other. So definitely something to consider. If you are that type of person and you find yourself saying things like, I tell it like it is, be prepared to hear the truth back.
That's very true. Like if you admit that I'm a blunt person, I'm a direct person, I just see that you're admitting to be a disrespectful and rude person. That's all I hear, honestly. And I remember when I think we had a discussion in class, and then after class, I was like, imagine if everybody is made to say things as they are, I'll tell you like it is. Yeah. And they should be willing to hear it, right?
Exactly.
But imagine if everybody was actually saying things as they are. Maybe I think somebody's artwork is ugly, and then I tell it like it is. Oh, it's ugly. Shresha said people would get shot.
Honestly, yeah, if you think about it, if everybody in the world, including the diplomats at the UN, told it like it is, how many wars would get started? So there is something to be said for phrasing things directly and not dishonestly, but also in a diplomatic way. In my mind, I have a slightly different take from any. I don't agree with sugarcoating as a concept, because in my mind, sugarcoating implies inauthenticity. So it's saying something like, oh, you're so great at artwork, however, your math skills suck. And in my mind, I'm like, you're just trying to like overinflate the artwork just to get to the point of like, your math skills are terrible. Yeah. And I could rather phrase it something along the lines of, hey, this job requires a lot of math work, it requires a lot of numbers, and you're not exactly where you need to be. However, here are A, B, and C things you can do to get to that place where your analytics are on point, because it's one of the metrics for your promotion. It's one of the things that you need. And that, for me, it feels direct, but at the same time, I'm not calling somebody stupid for not knowing the math behind their job. Right?
Yes.
And I'm not sugarcoating as well.
Yes.
I didn't say any sort of compliment at all.
But some people think saying it as it is like insulting. You have to insult people to say it like it is. And no, that's not it. If you have to insult people, maybe you go to a person's house and you have to insult the person's cooking. That's not you saying that. That's you being a jerk. That's you being disrespectful. That's you being mean. That is not saying it as it is. So people like that need to know where to draw the difference between saying it as it is, being direct, and being authentic and being mindful of people's feelings. So people that just say, when it hits me with that sentence, oh, I say things as it is, or I am direct, I just know that, this person is just,
And also, if you do run into a situation like that, like let's say you are invited to your best friend's house, and this is a person you've known all your life, but they cannot cook whatsoever, and you cannot eat a single spoon of whatever they've made ever. Do you tell them? I mean, maybe, depending on your friendship. Maybe you have that kind of friendship where you can have that authentic back and forth. Maybe you thrive on cursing each other. I know many friends who insult each other as a love language. That's again, know your audience. So yes, with that person, maybe you can. But maybe a coworker you just met 6 months ago invited you to their house for dinner. You cannot do the same. You cannot. So knowing your audience with feedback is important.
Know your audience, that's very important. Like, you cannot just throw out words to just anybody. Not everybody can take what you're dishing out, and that's the annoying part. People that dish out things like that don't want to receive it. They don't want to be on the receiving end. So it's just very annoying. Like, people like to walk over people, but then when they get stood up to, or when they receive it back in turn, they get offended. Why?
Honestly, here's one aspect about emotionally intelligent leadership and all these organizational behavior courses and things where people talk about how to deal with people. It's a lot of work. I will admit that. Dealing with people, especially different personalities, is a lot of work. And a lot of people might not be willing to do that work. And so they may take shortcuts. They may say things like, if I say things like, if I tell it like it is, then I don't have to deal with the individual personalities that I have around me. I can just treat them all as a blanket, problem.
Oh dear.
I suspect that's what it is. And I mean, sometimes.
Well, why can't it be the other way? Why can't you treat them equally, but in a nice way? Why does it have to be in a red way? Because
at the end of the day, you're also trying to accomplish something. You also want something from these people, or you want them to behave in a certain way. And so maybe that outright blanket offensive of, hey, I tell everybody like this, I tell it like it is, I do this with everybody. It just sets the stage for basically them getting what they want in a smooth manner. But at the same time, I feel like if you go scorched earth tactics and just burn everything to the ground, you're going to run out of places to go real fast. You're going to find that all the bridges around you are gone, and that's a bad place to be in your career. Never burn bridges. That's really true. While you don't have to put up with abusive behavior, while you don't have to put up with moral, ethical violations, you also have to consider the bridges around you and which ones you're willing to sacrifice.
True. Don't be an asshole. That's the summary of it.
Don't make too many enemies. And if you pick a hill to die on, make sure you're not alone on that hill.
True. So on a scale of 1 to 10, based on all the discussions that we had during the classes and your experience in business school, how emotionally intelligent do you feel?
I don't know, honestly. That's the tough part, right? Emotional intelligence is usually I would say my assessment of myself is not as important as others' assessment of me. When I interact with them, am I being emotionally intelligent? Am I being mature? So the best benchmark would be for me to ask everybody around me, my coworkers and friends, be like, hey,
Am I emotionally
do you like
intelligent?
being around me? Do you like working with me? But okay, that's, I feel like I'm ducking the question, but I would say I am sufficiently emotionally intelligent. I have learned things about people and relationships, especially professional relationships, and I want to continue exploring, and I want to make sure that if I am speaking out loud in a meeting or in a conference or at a speech, I want to make sure that the people who work with me realize that I'm on their side, and vice versa.
True. Honestly, for me, I feel the same way. I don't know if I'm like where I want to be, because there are still some things I believe that would have been resolved a different way, but I don't think I resolved them in the way that they should be traditionally, or in the way that would be expected for them to be resolved. So I think that for me, there is still a play of personality in it. Like, I don't want to deal with this. I will not deal with it. I would rather just let it go, or I would rather just, keep it in my heart and just know that this is what it is, and I will not deal with it. I will not settle it. So I think there is still that part that is still playing. So I cannot say that I'm a 10 over 10 emotionally intelligent
That is
leader.
true, but I don't think anybody is. Even somebody who's been on this earth, for 100 years probably can't strike that, checkbox that says 10 out of 10 on any sort of emotional intelligent quiz or something.
Yeah, true.
But okay, if 0 to 10 with 5 being the midpoint, I'm slightly above average before business school. So I would say I was a 6 before business school, and after taking these classes, maybe I'm at a 7, maybe. I don't know if that's too complimentary towards myself, but I'm gonna be nice to myself and call myself a 7.
Okay. So do you have any key takeaway or advice for people looking to be more emotionally intelligent
in the workplace?
Especially in the workplace. Even in personal relationships, family and all of that, because it's not just work team. Even family members can just be different, have different personalities, and
So this is one thing that I tend to look towards in general. When in business school, we all get like assessments and things, and one of my strengths happens to be intellection or introspectiveness. So it was one of my Clifton strengths. We had to take that Clifton assessment. So I would say the best way to deal with multiple different personalities and work styles and things is to know yourself really well and know what sets you off, what doesn't set you off, how you like to work. And that way, when things start happening around you, you are able to control your reaction, calibrate, maybe take a step back, take a step forward as needed. I would say knowing yourself is critical. And that kind of work only happens over time. I understand people who are just entering the workforce, just going into business, it's difficult. Yeah. But wait for it. Knowledge will come. You will get to know yourself more and more with every single day and every single job and relationship.
Yeah. That makes sense. If you've liked this video so far, just reflect that on the like button, okay? So for me, I would say be humble, don't be an asshole. Take any emotionally intelligent leadership course or training that you can find, because you never can tell. These things can just, help you expose some things about yourself that you never previously knew. And
it does also help you in your career. If the relationships you have in your professional life will take you far. So make sure you take advantage of that.
Yes. So that's all we have for you. I hope you've enjoyed our discussion. Thank you, Shrestha, for joining us today. I hope that you enjoyed her answers and all the discussions that we have had. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.